Alright, let's go over our chapter 15 study guide. So number 1 asked us to take the square root of 25 over 4. And so that's the same thing as taking the square root of 25 and the square root of 4. And so we get 5/4. And then you can put your answer as a mixed number or simplest or a improper fraction. And so it should be 1 1/4. Number 2 is asking us to take the cube root of 27 over 343. That's the same thing as taking the cube root of 27 and the cube root of 343. And so we get 3 over 7. Sorry, this should be a 3. Struggling. Alright, so now we need to solve x squared equals 4. And so remember when we have to draw the square root to cancel the exponent, that means that we'll get a positive and negative number. And so we get the square root of 4 is not that. It's 2 and negative 2. All right, number 4. We have 1/3 times x cubed equals 72. And so we have to multiply by the reciprocal. So we multiply by 3 over 1 on both sides. That cancels out this side of our equation. And so we have x cubed equals 216, because 72 times 3 is 216. So then we take the cube root of both sides, and we get x equals 6. Number 5, write the mixed number as a decimal. And so we're going to use long division, and we're going to do 51 divided by 8. On your test, you're going to need to show your work if you want full points. So we put 51 inside of our long division sign, and then 8 is on the outside. So we have 8 goes into 51 6 times, and that gives us 48. Subtract those and you get 3. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 33 times, and that gives us 24. Subtract those, you get 6. Bring down another 0. And then 8 goes into 56 7 times. 8 goes into 67 times, and that gives us 56. Subtract that and you get 4. Bring down that third 0, and we get 40. So 8 goes into 45 times, and that gives us a remainder of 0. So our decimal is 6.375. It is not repeating, so do not draw a line above it. Number 6, write the decimal as a fraction. And so we have x equals 0.37 repeating. Since there are 2 numbers that repeat, and it's in the 100th spot, we're going to multiply by 100 on both sides. And so we get 100x equals 37.37 repeating, because that 37 goes on forever and ever and ever. So all we did there was move the decimal. So we had this, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. By multiplying by 100, we moved it right here. And so that 37 keeps continuing. So then we subtract by our original equation, which was x equals 0.37 repeating. And so we get 99, because 100 minus 1 is 99, equals 37, because these cancel out now. And so then we need to divide by 99 on both sides, and we get 37 over 99, and that is our answer. Which number is greater? I didn't actually find the square or the cube root or the square root of any of these numbers. I just found what their perfect square lies between. So the perfect cube is between 64 and 125, and the cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of 125 is 5. And so I know that it's somewhere between 4 and 5. the square root of 7 is between the perfect squares of 4 and 9, and so when I take the square root of 4, I get 2. When I take the square root of 9, I get 3. So I know that this one is going to be 2 point something, and this will be 4 point something. And so that is why the bigger one is the cubed root of 67. Number 8 asks us to find the distance between the 2 points. So I drew a graph as one option, and then I also showed you up here that you can just find the difference between your x values and your y values, and that will also give you your a and b. So our a term, again, whenever it's our legs that we have, it doesn't matter what a and b is. We just care that we're looking for c. So a squared is going to be 4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. And so 16 plus 64 equals c squared. Take the square root of both sides to cancel out that exponent. And we get the square root of 80. The square root of 80 is between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81. Those are both perfect squares. So we know it's between 8 and 9. And so since 80 is closer to 81, we are going to do 8.6, 8.7, 8.8, and 8.9, and we're going to square those to see what we would get. And it looks like our closest answer to 81 or to 80 is 8.9 squared. So our answer is 8.9. This was 5.4, I believe. Yes. No, 5.5. Sorry. 15.5. Whoa, struggle bus. All right, number 9. We want to see if it is a right triangle, and so this is 15.6, and so we are going to plug that into our Pythagorean theorem. So 14 squared plus 48 squared equals 50 squared. Remember, our biggest number is always our c, and so we get 196 plus 2,304 equals 2,500. And so we're going to add up that left side of the equation that I have boxed in, and we get 2,500, which is the same thing as our c squared. And so that means that it is a right triangle. So our answer is yes. And we know this because a squared plus b squared does in fact equal c squared. If it did not equal c squared, it would not be a right triangle. Number 10. So find the distance between, or the difference between 13 over 3 and the square root of 16 over 9 on a number line. So that just means we're going to subtract. Anytime we see find the distance, it just means subtract the two. So 13 divided by 3 minus the square root of 16 over 9 is 4 over 3. And so 9, well, it equals 9 over 3 because 13 minus 4 is 9. And then we keep our denominator. And so 3 goes into 9 3 times, so our answer is 3. All right, number 11. This one says the ratio of 512 and x is equivalent to the ratio of x squared to 512. So we set them as fractions. Whatever comes first is on top, whatever comes second is on bottom. We can cross multiply. And so 512 times 512 gives us 262,144, and that equals x cubed. And then we take the cubed root of both sides and we get x equals 64. So that's kind of combining a bunch of stuff that we've already learned. All right. So the radius of a circle with an area A is approximately the square root of A over 3. And so we know the area is 48. So we're going to plug in 48, and that's going to equal, well, we have the square root of 48 over 3. and that equals our R. And so now we find out that 43 divided by 3 is 16, and the square root of 16 is 4. So our radius is 4. All right, number 13. So they gave us that equation, b equals 234 times the cubed root of p over w. P was 1,000, w is 1,331. So then we take the cubed root of both of those numbers under the cube root, and we get 10 and 11. So we have 234 times 10, and then we take that divided by 11, and it says to round your number to the nearest whole number, and so our answer is 213. Number 14. So I plotted my points. However, the points that I plotted were the ones I wrote in green because it says that it dilates by a scale factor of 2, which means we multiply each number by 2. And so we have a side length of 14 and a side length of 12. We plug that into the Pythagorean theorem, and we find out that our C is 18.4, and we're going to plug that in to find our perimeter. That just means we add up all the sides, and we get 14 plus 12 plus 18.4. We get about 44.4, which when we round to the nearest whole number like it asks us to, that's about 44 units. Remember, you can pause this at any time to take your notes or fix your problem. All right, so your friend's house is 4.5 miles north, and it's 6 miles east of the firehouse. And so that's our A and our B. We're going to plug that in to find C. This was on your quiz. And so 4.5 squared plus 6 squared gives us 56.52. Take the square root of both sides, and we get 7.5. All right, so first we need to find the the hypotenuse of our triangle to find, so we're going to use this as A and this as B. And so when I plug that in, I got A squared plus B squared gave me 1600. Take the square root and I get 40. And then now that's my leg because my hypotenuse is across from my right angle, so we know it's going to equal 50 squared. So 40 squared plus b squared equals 50 squared. Subtract 1600 from both sides, and we get b squared equals 900. Take the square root, and we get 30. All right. So number 6 tells us that a cube of ice has a surface area of 24 square inches. And I gave you a hint that said the surface area equals 6 times the side. And so we have 24 equals 6s. And then I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. And I find out that s, so my side length, is 4. This is my side length. And so now I'm going to plug that into my volume equation, which is the side length squared, or the side length cubed. And so we have 4 cubed equals 64. And that was also on your quiz. And so if you need to go back, feel free. You can pause the video at any time, obviously. And then now you're going to go and do a practice test to get you all ready for your test next class. If you have any questions, feel free to snip and clip pictures and send them to me. I would love to help. I will also do a video conference a little bit later in the day to give everybody a chance to look over and try the study guide. And so it would be probably around 2 or a little bit after 2. I'll do a video conference, and I'd love to come on and help you guys. So make sure that you're looking for an email for that. All right, start your practice test.